It is expected that when women age, they will recede into the background. They will tend to their knitting, they'll tend to their grandkids, they'll become quiet and even more quiet until they're nearly invisible. But being old doesn't mean that we as women lose our passion for social justice. In fact, for many of us, as we grow older, we feel stronger than ever about making the world a better place for our children and our grandchildren and everyone. In 1987, there were a group of older women in Victoria, British Columbia, who began to make waves. They were concerned about United States nuclear submarines in and around their waters in Victoria. They wanted them to leave, so they started to write letters and they signed petitions, but they felt that that was falling on deaf ears. So they decided to change their tactics. They dressed up in outlandish costumes with shawls and aprons, big hats and boas, and they wrote songs with satirical lyrics about the issues that were concerning them, and they started to show up everywhere. You can imagine that this began to get some attention. They called themselves the Raging Grannies, and they realized that with humor and song, they were beginning to achieve some goals that were important to them. The first goal was that they wanted to have their message heard. The second was that they wanted to act like a support group for one another. And finally, they wanted to encourage other older women to become activists. The Raging Grannies were rabble-rousers. And pretty soon, there were gaggles of grannies popping up all over Canada and the United States. Now, this is not a top-down organization. And in fact, there are times when we are rather disorganized. However, we think that with humor and song, we can make an impact and we can do something that will help to make the world a better place. In Rochester in 2002, we got started because there were a couple of issues that were concerning to us. One was the issue of war, but there was also a local issue, and that was that the budgets in the county were threatening to be cut, and many of the services that we thought were really important were on the chopping block. That included school nurses and libraries. So I started to write letters and make phone calls, but I felt that was falling on deaf ears. And then one morning I opened the newspaper, and here was a picture of some women in Rochester with their hats and their shawls and their aprons and their mouths wide open, and they were singing at the county legislature building. This got my attention, and it made me think that it was getting the attention of a lot of other people. So that's when I joined the Raging Grannies. All of us on stage have a similar story. We all got involved because of our passion for social justice and the environment and many other issues. We have been singing songs for quite a long time, and one of the songs that we sing frequently and started singing last year was a song about, we sang it at the Women's March and in Seneca Falls in New York. And then we sang it again this year at the Women's March in Rochester. Our message is really our songs, so it's time that you listen to one. This is Granny Power.
Oh, we come from Rochester, raging grannies, proud and strong. With our granny power hats we march and sing our raging song. Granny power, we will not be ignored. We stand in solidarity with women, hear us roar. We'll fight for women's rights to plan our families as we choose. And we're rising up to say that we'll no longer be abused. And the right to marry who we love must be a right for all. And the right to pee where we see fit in a private bathroom stall. Granny power, we will not be ignored. We stand in solidarity with women, hear us roar. Yes, we support the immigrants who come from many lands. They deserve a break and decent pay and every helping hand. No matter if your skin is black or tan or red or brown, we want you all to know that you are welcome in our town. Granny power, we will not be ignored. We stand in solidarity with women, hear us roar!
We are old enough to know that change doesn't happen overnight, and it may not even come in our lifetime. But we feel compelled to share our messages, and so we are always showing up. We are writing lyrics to songs, and we sometimes update and change them. And some songs we sing for a long time. We think that if we look harmless and we inject humor in our songs, we'll be more effective. But don't be fooled. We are passionate about the issues of social justice and caring for our earth and many other issues, including this next one, which is health care. We've been singing this song for 10 years, and we'll keep singing it and singing it. This is the Old Gray Granny.
This old gray granny ain't what she used to be. Had a hysterectomy, needs a colonoscopy, but she can't afford to pay for her care, and so she might as well die right now. 'Cause where is she supposed to go when she doesn't have the dough? She dare not get sick without health insurance, so she might as well die right now. This old gray granny splits all her pills in half. The drug companies just laugh. Their profits are off the graph. But Granny can't afford to pay for her pills, and so she might as well die right now. 'Cause what is she supposed to do when money for the rent is due? She can't pay for pills and groceries too, and so she might as well die right now. This old gray granny now needs a test or two. Her boo has a lump or two. But what is she supposed to do? She can't pay the bills, so she'll just have to muddle through. She might as well die right now. Well, Granny's old, but she is wise. She knows we have to organize. So let's keep working for health care for everyone, so she don't have to shrivel up and die.
Well, in that last song, the last stanza had something about she knows she has to organize. Well, we are a disorganization of older women, and sometimes that's a little tricky. But what we do is we have monthly meetings in Rochester, and we prioritize what we're going to do and talk about rages, and sometimes we work on songs. And we also have a really effective method of making decisions. It's a consensus model, and it works really well for us. What that means for us is that people, any granny, can make a proposal. And then there'll be some discussion. And then we indicate our level of agreement or disagreement. If we all are in agreement, then we can proceed with the proposal. But if even one granny does not want to go ahead with it, she can block that proposal. What that means for us is that we all feel equally powerful, and we also listen very intently to one another. Now, we have been raging for many years and for many different causes. We have raged for peace, for the environment, for health care, for the fair treatment of immigrants, and I met some last night, and it really made me feel that we need to work even harder for that. We have raged against war and war toys and hydrofracking. We have raged to get people to register and vote and to speak up and to stand up for what they believe in. We know that we are not the movement, but we think that we bring visibility to it by showing up, and that's what we do. Now, we have been, as I said, continuing to write songs for many years, and we change the lyrics. Sometimes we take a good old tune that's been around for a long time and just come up with new lyrics. This next song is one of those. It started out with workers singing this in the rice fields in Italy. And then in World War II, new lyrics were adopted and it became part of the Italian resistance. We like that. And then 50 years after that, Nick Balthasar in the Netherlands wrote lyrics about climate change to try to motivate people to pay attention. And we have recently written lyrics about an issue that's really important to us, and that is the issue of gun violence.
We need to wake up. We need to rise up. We need to open our eyes and do it now, now, now. We need to build a safer future, and we need to start right now. We are a country that has a problem. Too many guns, too many shootings. We ask how can we build a safer future? And we need to start right now. We are aware that thoughts and prayers, while kindly meant, don't prevent hearing pow, pow, pow. We need to pause. That's too much more. And we need to start right now. Let's ban bump stocks and semi-autos. Make background checks universal. Do it now, now, now. We need to build a safer future, and we need to start right now. No more waiting or hesitating. We must rise up, time to rise up, do it now, now, now. We need to build a safer future, and we need to start right now. We need to build a safer future, and we're going to start right now.
Thank you. Yeah. So we meet once a month generally as grannies, and we always end our meetings with a song that's written not by a granny, but she could be an honorary granny, and she has said that she would move from her warm climate in West Virginia to come sing with us in Rochester because she thinks we're amazing. And so we always stand when we sing this. We invite you to do the same. It's Every Woman by Karen McKay.
If every woman in the world had her mind set on freedom, if every woman in the world dreamed a sweet dream of peace, if every woman in every nation, young and old, each generation, held her hands out in the name of love, there would be no more war.
Thank you so much for listening to your grannies. Now get up off your fannies. We'll see you in the streets.